motherfucking relay. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. An Instagram story posted by Dina Thorsland a few weeks ago, Lee Eaton, her longtime manager, stated, "One thing's for sure, when Dina Thorsland is back, she will be the undisputed champion of the world. She will be back to collect her belts before we know it." He tagged Most Valuable Promotions, Nikisa Badarian, Jake Paul, and Mike Leonardi. Dina herself added a caption to that same post saying, "And I can't wait. My time will come, and I will be back more mean than ever." Dina is out with child, her second child to be exact, sporting an unblemished record of 23 wins with no losses, no draws, 9 knockouts. Originally scheduled to face Sharita Metcalf on the undercard of Taylor vs. Serrano 3, a fight that they actually announced. Until it later came out that Dina was with child, which begs the question, when she entered into the deal with MVP, and when she signed on to fight Sharita, did she know that she was pregnant? Or did she become pregnant after that? Because if she knew that she was pregnant, then she shouldn't have signed on to fight Sharita, and if she became pregnant after that, when she's signed on to fight, well, that's a little bit irresponsible too, don't you think? That's how Sharnika Johnson got the fight, though. It later came out that Dina was pregnant, she wouldn't be able to fight, and thus Sharnika stood in her place. As a courtesy, Dina vacated her 2 Alphabet titles, which then ended up on the line in Johnson versus Metcalf, all of which Sharnika Johnson now holds, sporting a professional record of 18 wins with 2 losses, no draws, 8 knockouts, having never been knocked out in 20 professional bouts. Anybody looking for a title in the bantamweight division has to go through Sharnika. And that applies to Dina, but the question is, how long will it take for Dina Thorsland to return? We know that she's out for what remains of this year, indefinitely. But will she be back fast enough to challenge Sharnika for all the marbles, for all the belts, or will Sharnika have moved on by then? This is one of the rare instances where the fighter with all the hardware, all the brass, all the belts, is not actually the lineal champion. Dina is still the lineal champion. Sharnika's got all the Alphabet titles, but not lineal status. That can only be won by challenging Dina for it and beating Dina for it. There's only a few ways you can lose lineal status. You can lose it in the ring, in a fight, or you can lose it when you retire. It can be dissolved once a fighter moves up in weight, none of which is the case here. Dina Thorsland didn't retire, she's not moving up in weight, and nobody took it from her, so she still is the Bantamweight Division's lineal champion. Well, how did she become lineal champion if she's not undisputed? She became lineal champion in the Yuli Hangaluna fight in September of 2023, when the number 1 and number 2 fighters at the weight fought each other, both champions at the time. Dina had the WBO, Yuli Hung had the WBC, and Dina dominated her. Dina beat her. That's how she became this division's lineal champion. Number 1 fought number 2. That's how it happens. That's how you crown one. I used to heavily favor Dina Thorsland to mop the floor with anyone and everyone at this weight, but coming off of a pregnancy, I just don't know. I'm going to assume that before she challenges Sharnika for all the marbles, if Sharnika's even still there, Dina's gonna need a tune-up fight. That is pivotal, in tandem with the effect that a second pregnancy can have on her body. It's worth noting that she already has 1 child, and she's been one of the most dominant fighters anywhere in between 122 and 118. So she's shown the ability to bounce back at least once before. Can she do it again? Come back as mean-spirited, as explosive, as she was before pregnancy? Giving birth is no joke. It's a full-body experience. It'll take her some time to bounce back. So the question is, will she be back in time to challenge Sharnika Johnson, or by then, will Sharnika Johnson have moved up, perhaps to have a rematch with Ellie Scotney, who's in the midst of her own undisputed run? By the time Dina comes back, Ellie might be undisputed, Sharnika might move up to fight her again. Undisputed Bantamweight champion versus undisputed Super Bantamweight champion. A rematch of undisputed champions. What I would prefer? I would prefer to see Sharnika stay at 118. before pursuing a rematch with Ellie Scottney. Make 1 or 2 defenses of her belts, stay there long enough to fight Dina, then let the winner fight Ellie Scottney. The fight that I have my heart set on is Thorslund versus Johnson. It's the one I want, but like I said, given how much time it might take Dina to come back, I don't know if we get it. We'll see. Men's junior middleweight news. Preliminary reports seem to indicate that Josh Kelly, now 31, has been offered a WBO eliminator against Jaron Ennis. Kelly has fought just twice in the last 2 years, with Boots becoming IBF welterweight champion before stepping up in weight. Not just IBF champion, he unified the IBF and WBA titles in his last fight. Forced to move up in weight because he's finally outgrown the welterweight division. It was really only a matter of time before that happened. Most people feel that he wouldn't truly be tested in the welterweight division, not until he moves up to junior middle, where the talent pool is a lot deeper and where he's not so big. But does Josh Kelly actually qualify as a legitimate acid test for Jaron Ennis at 154? Josh Kelly, like Jaron Ennis, is a welterweight that moved up in weight after his knockout loss to David Evanesian, a common opponent between them. He debuted as a junior middleweight in June of 2022, approximately 3 years and 7 fights ago. So he's definitely acclimated to the weight by now. He certainly has more experience there than Jaron Ennis, but at what level? 7 fights into that junior middleweight campaign. It's hard to say he's racked up any memorable victories or solid victories over the junior middles. 3 years and 7 fights into that junior middleweight campaign. In the last 2 years, he's only boxed twice. 2 times. Used to be promoted by Matchroom up until that David Evanesian fight. Then he jumped into bed with Wasserman, and he's been with Wasserman ever since, though seemingly falling out of the public eye. You don't see or hear that much from Josh Kelly. But the virtue of facing Josh Kelly, even if you question his credentials as a junior middle, is that he is top ranked by the WBO. In their last set of updated rank standings, Xander Zayas was at number 1 and Jorge Garcia Perez was at number 2, the 2 guys who just fought this past weekend on ESPN. And Xander won. He's WBO champion now. Jorge Perez is likely to drop in their rank standings, and Josh Kelly will be promoted to that number 1 spot. This makes him their highest ranked contender, and that's the virtue of facing him. For Jaron Ennis, if you beat Josh, you're in line to fight Zandor. I don't imagine that's something that Bob Arum's going to be too happy about, that the Matchroom boys are pursuing a fight with his prized stallion at 154 so soon after he's become WBO champion. This would put Xander on the spot. Though before it comes to that, Jaron Ennis has to beat Josh Kelly. I think outside looking in, most people would pick Jaron Ennis to beat Josh Kelly, for the simple fact he has more of a buzz than Josh Kelly. It's more talked about. Whatever buzz Josh Kelly had dissipated after the knockout loss to David Evanesian, whereas Jaron Ennis has a bit more going for him, sporting a professional record of 34 wins with no losses, no draws, 30 knockouts. He will likely be the betting favorite going in. Josh Kelly will be the underdog. That's assuming they make this fight. We know that Eddie sent Josh Kelly an offer, but we don't know if Josh Kelly's gonna bite. We don't know if he wants this fight. Sporting a professional record of 17 wins with 1 loss and 1 draw, 9 knockouts, having been knocked out once in 19 professional bouts, Josh is not that big a puncher. He was a well-schooled amateur. Kinda looks like Tom Cruise in Vanilla Sky. What I remember of Josh Kelly, because I haven't seen him in a while. Like I said, after the loss to David Evanesian at welter, he sort of fell out of the public eye, jumped into bed with Wasserman, and he's been boxing on the terrestrial network Channel 5 over there in the UK. But Wasserman and that channel obviously don't have the profile in America that Matchroom and DAZN do. So I haven't seen him in a while, but what I remember of Josh? Well, he's not big on power. He's got some speed, some snap in the punches, some mobility, agility. Sort of fancied himself a slickster, not dissimilar from what you see from Ben Whitaker up there in the light heavyweight division. Josh Kelly used to shake and shimmy and showboat for the crowd. at a time where he was just getting started, and you started to see kinks in the armor right around the time he fought Ranovsky.
Better quit showboating and box.
Was a standout amateur, an Olympian, I believe. He made it that far. He qualified for the Olympics, and there was a buzz around him when he entered into the paid ranks, but he hasn't lived up to those expectations. So now he might be fighting Jaron Ennis, and what he brings to the table that might trouble Jaron Ennis in his first fight at junior middle is movement. Josh Kelly is a mover.
We know that's something Jaron Ennis struggles with.
Movement, like what we saw in both the Karen Chukadzian fights, though I don't think Josh Kelly is as durable as a Karen Chukadzian or as nuanced, but that is what he is. He's a mover, he's a boxer.
Do you think he takes this fight?
So he was supposed to be in talks for a Bakram Murtazaliev fight, and those talks fell apart. Bakram is now under orders to satisfy his mandatory challenger, Erickson Lubin, and Josh Kelly is left without a dance partner.
You know, at his age, it's time to shit or get off the pot. He hasn't fought for a full alphabet title yet. Not at 147, not now at 154.
He has sort of stayed in his comfort zone, just above British level at European level, I would say. He hasn't yet entered into world level, and he's in his early 30s. I mean, the junior middleweight division is too deep a division to hide out in the European scene. At some point, you're gonna have to step it up. This is your chance. Do I like his chances?
No.
I think Jaron Ennis smokes him. I think Jaron Ennis knocks him out. I think not having to boil down to 147 will result in a stronger, sharper, faster Jaron Ennis at 154, at least fast enough to knock out a Josh Kelly.
Boiling down to 147 so many times, he was leaving a piece of himself in the gym that he can now bring to 154, where he'll feel a bit more energized, not as depleted.
If Josh Kelly accepts Eddie Hearn's offer, if they make the fight, I like Jaron Ennis to win the fight, but I am a bit skeptical as to whether or not Josh Kelly will sign up for this, though at the same time, at his age, it's shit to get off the pot. You gotta do something.
Finally, in men's cruiserweight news, it was announced a little over a week ago that Zurdo Ramirez underwent successful shoulder surgery. I wasn't aware he was experiencing a shoulder issue.
Gilberto Zurdo Ramirez underwent successful shoulder surgery, treating an injury he picked up in his win over Uniel Dorticos on June 28th. The 34-year-old Ramirez, 48-1 with 30 knockouts, retained his WBO cruiserweight title with the victory. No timetable has been given for his return to action. After getting 3 medical opinions and a lot of thinking, I've decided to undergo my shoulder surgery. I've been dealing with this injury since my last fight, and pushing through it just isn't the smart move for my health or my career, said Ramirez. Surgery isn't something any fighter wants to hear, but this is the right call to make. Sure, I heal properly and come back at 100%. I'll be out of the ring healing until I'm cleared by my medical team, but I'm already locked in on therapy and on the road back. Thank you to everyone who's been checking in and showing love. It means more than you know. I'll be back stronger, sharper, and hungrier than ever. We wish Zurdo Ramirez the very best in his recovery and are pleased to hear that his shoulder surgery was successful, said promoter Oscar De La Coca. At Golden Boy, the health and safety of our fighters is our top priority. We look forward to Zurdo returning at 100% fully recovered and ready to take on the biggest challenges that await him once he's cleared and ready to step back into the ring. Over a week out from this news, we still don't have a prognosis, an ETA for Zurdo Ramirez's return. There's still a lot of time left in this calendar year. We're halfway through it.
It's a little over 5 months left.
You know that I'm cynical. You know that maybe I tend to overanalyze things, but I can't help but think that the timing of this injury and the timing of this surgery happened right on time to keep Zurdo away from Jai Opataya.
That's the best fight to make. I think that's the one that everybody's waiting for. The only other champion at the weight, Badu Jack, has a mandatory challenger to satisfy in Noel Mikhailian. He's been ordered to run it back with him, where Zurdo, he just took care of his mandatory, so he would have been free to unify with Jai Opataya if that's what he really wanted.
Admittedly, I'm not a big believer in coincidences. It's supposed to be a coincidence that he needs to undergo this surgery right around the time he's going to be free to fight Jai Opetaia for a fight that I don't even think Oscar De La Hoya wants him to have. We don't have an ETA for his return. What the prognosis is, this could keep him out for months, long enough that he might face the winner of Badu Jack versus Noel Mikhailian 2, and not face Jai Opetaia, because the winner of that fight will be a champion like Opetaia is a champion, though not as risky.
Now, maybe you like Zurdo's chances in the fight. Maybe you give him a fighting chance, and maybe he has one. But none of that speaks to whether or not Oscar wants him to have that fight. Not when there's an alternative.
A safer one, which effectively keeps Jai Opetaia out of the unification picture. It's long been his desire to become this division's undisputed champion, but for one reason or another, it's just never available. And he's faced criticism for the fighters that he has been fighting, like Sequeyo and Elisaro.
David Naika. People want to see Jai Opetaia in there with somebody better than those guys. Somebody on the level of a Maris Breedis, who he fought 2 times.
It's really not his fault. I'm 100% sure. If these champions wanted to fight him as bad as he wants to fight them, then the fights would happen. But the quality of competition has been lackluster as of late. It's been keep busy fight after keep busy fight, because that's all he can do, is keep busy.
I begin to wonder how well he's making that weight, the cruiserweight limit. He's been a career cruiserweight, you understand. And I wonder if he can keep making that weight healthy and match fit, because if he can't, you know what happens after that.
You just don't get the sense that Jai Opetaia will be able to have at least one unification match before this year is out, because Jack's got to fight Mikhailian again, and Zurdo is out. I'd love to be wrong about this, but I don't think I am. It doesn't look like Jai will be unifying titles with anyone this year.
Can't they just pay Mikhailian to step aside? Go away momentarily?
Theoretically, Turkey LL Sheik could make it worth Noel's while to stand down and let those 2 champions fight.
Theoretically.
But there was already a story out there that Jake Paul tried to pay Noel Mikhailian to step aside, and they rejected his offer. Would they also reject an offer from Turkey LL Sheik? And how receptive would Badu Jack, who's 41 or 42 years old, be to a fight with Jai Opetaia? He has to know what the danger is. He has to know that's about the most dangerous fight anyone can have in this division.
Does he actually want that fight?
It's unfortunate, but it's looking more and more like Jai Opetaia might end up outgrowing this division while he waits for these champions to become available.
I hope I'm wrong about this.